Magnets are remarkable things. They've been found all over the world and been manufactured for many years. Some rocks, such as magnetite, have remarkable magnetic qualities thanks to the changing polarities of the Earth's magnetic field. One of their most curious properties is their poles. This one has its north pole facing up. This one has its south pole facing up. If we bring those two poles together, one attracts the other. But if I turn it round, so this one has its north pole facing up, as you can see, they refuse to connect unless they're really slipping past, and then they are remarkably close. You're probably wondering what this has to do with any sort of philosophy. The philosophy of magnets? It's more the fact that things that are remarkably similar tend to repel one another. In some families, people say, "You know why we don't get on? It's because we're too similar." True, it depends on what those qualities are. If you're aggressive, if you are impulsive, and so on. But, surprisingly enough, this is noted in some religions. You may think, hold on, religion? Surely they're completely different, that's the whole point. Well, not necessarily. Most Eastern religions follow the same idea of karma, samsara, and enlightenment. So, ultimately, they just follow the same pattern and are perfectly fine with each other. Whereas the two religions originating in the Middle East, that being Christianity and Islam, they clash constantly. But some people may wonder why. Because we're so alike. In fact, we have a couple of things in common. Firstly, we're all descended from a common ancestor, that being Abraham, or as Muslims call him, Ibrahim, Father Abraham with many sons. In our places of worship, we all face the east for our prayers. You're thinking, hang on, we don't do that in our churches. Well, we do. We all enter by the west door. The altar is at the east end. And all Muslims pray towards the east, facing towards Mecca. It's in that rough general direction. Even our buildings themselves look similar. Take, for example, the great Cathedral of St. Paul's in London. A remarkable structure, or a great dome. Many mosques are noted for their domes. Many cathedrals of our time have their enormous spires. In fact, Salisbury Cathedral needs a beacon to warn low-flying aircraft that it's there. Some of the great mosques, like the one in Istanbul, has towering minarets. So architecture and general structure are the same. So on the surface, we may think we're completely different. But if you just remember that Allah is the Arabic word for God, then you realise at a deep level, Islam and Christianity are just two sides of the same coin. In fact, you could say one is as different from another as their own individual denominations are. Effectively, we are the Church of England to Islam's Catholic Church. They're that similar. One's just more pious than the other. Some people just can't get their heads around that and refuse to accept it. In my video about the road to Tinue, I named those people as road rage. And there are two people on each side of that road with road rage. On the Muslim side, we have jihadists, people advocating holy war, and so-called Islamic State, who was the architect of that particular war. On the Christian side, we have Donald Trump, the Republican candidate for the US presidential election at this particular time, and is going to be the first against the wall when the revolution comes, and Britain's First, the far-right political group. Now, what do these guys have in common? ISIS want to completely take over the world and make it Muslim. Jihadists follow that call, calling all Muslims to arms. Donald Trump wants to block everyone going to Syria, cut off Islam. And Britain's First wants to bring up a Christian army to fight off the jihadists. See what I'm getting at? Similar things, hating each other and being repelled by it. It's a bit like a man looking into a mirror, seeing his reflection and hating it. And he refuses to admit that it is his reflection. Most other people can see it. He can't. But how are they similar? Let's take Britain's First, as they're the only people I can really comment on. They want to eradicate Muslims, close all mosques, and make Britain Christian again. Jihadists, they want to build more mosques, they want to eradicate Christianity and make Britain Islam. You can see where they're sort of going. Now you may say that Muslims are evil, but that's a bit like saying all horses are nutters. It entirely depends on the horse, and if you're a horse person like me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some horses are quiet, some are energetic. Some are grumpy, some are excitable. Some, if you point them in the right direction, will go like the clappers. Others, you need to really nudge them along. The one thing that unites them is the simple force of hate. Hate is all too common in this world. I can't say there's an absence of God, as I'm not entirely sure how it begins. Now, I'm not going to say hate is completely awful. It depends on how far you take it. For example, I have a few pet hates. Firstly, denouncers. People that say there is no God and will argue their case, when really there's no evidence to back them up either way. Bad drivers. And this can be white van men or people who just don't drive properly on the roads. People who do things in the most impractical way. Because let's face it, if you can do something practically, for heaven's sake, do it. And fourth, pheasants. A long story, but I hate pheasants. Let's face it, if we didn't eat pheasant in this country, we would have wiped them out a long time ago. They don't deserve to live here, we only bred them because they're good in pie. That's all they're really good for. But if you have a great deal of power behind you and can drive it forwards with hate as the prow, then you're in big trouble. This is particularly potent for the American elections coming up quite soon, as we have Donald Trump and the other chap, Bernie Sanders, I believe. Recently, a chap went round offering free hugs. Some people think that's a bit odd. But when he offered them at a Donald Trump rally, on the most part, he was rejected by them. When he offered them at a Bernie Sanders rally, he was deluged with hugs. What does that say about the candidates? One is about dividing nations, the other is about bringing them together. And we all know which one's which. Similarly, in Britain, we have the London mayoral elections coming up. I don't know much about the candidates, but I only know two of them. The current mayor, Boris Johnson, and Paul Golding, the head of Britain's First. Now, comparing those two is like comparing my dopey Shire horse, Dawn, with a Pamplona bull. Dawn is a miniature Shire horse, very big and seems very clumsy, and she ploughs through a lot of things. But don't for 1 minute think she's stupid, because she's not. In fact, she's often too clever for her own good. You have to think several steps ahead of her. You have to know what she's talking about, or what she's acting at. Otherwise, she will completely throw you. Once she's made a decision, it's hard to stop her. She's that headstrong. A Pamplona bull is dangerous beyond belief. Many people think that bulls rush full when they see red, and to a certain extent they do, but it depends on what that red is doing. If it's just sitting around, the bull's not going to bother with them. If that red is running away, the bull will chase after it. It's motion. So someone in a red raincoat could be standing perfectly still in the path of the bull, and it will go to someone wearing black and white just because they're moving. Where are we going with this? Well, Boris Johnson is effectively my pony. He's seen a bit dim, and he may blunder forwards, but he knows what he's doing, and don't for a moment think he's anything but clever. Paul Golding is the bull. He ploughs on ahead, fueled by hate. And whilst he may seem calm at times, that's just because you are not occurring his wrath. But this is purely my view on people with road rage. I view it from the Christian side because that's the only perspective I have. On the Muslim side, they're probably thinking the same. People with road rage, stay away from them. That's the best answer. You may think that one side of the coin is completely different from the other, but they're still the same coin. A 2p is still a 2p, no matter which way you turn it, be it heads or tails. That can change a life if it is tossed. Hate is all very well, provided you use it correctly. If you use it as a sword, you will only impale yourself. The trick I use, when I stub my toe on something, or bash my shin against something, I don't instantly whirl around and hit it. Who knows, it could be a customer, it could be a friend, it could be the boss. I take a step back, look at what it is, and if it's something I can retaliate to, be it a chair, a bench, or a pillar, I will retaliate in the appropriate way. Normally a very solid kick. If it's the boss, a friend or a customer, I respond appropriately. Customer, I say, excuse me. A friend, I say, get out of the way, you clot. The boss? Hatred is a natural part of life. We all do it. Just don't let your hate control you. The only thing that should control you is your ambition for peace, through the Prince of Peace, our Lord Jesus Christ. May he forever watch over you, my friends.